Welcome to Black Gumbo Southern Gardening. We're going to overlap our spring with our summer crops. It's not too early to get started. Let's talk about that. Here in Zone 9A, we get 3 distinct growing seasons. That's a benefit of living where it's very hot. But we get March to about, June, July. That's our spring season. We get somewhere around June all the way to October. That's our summer season where you can only grow high heat plants, and then you can usually grow through the winter, October through February or March or so. So I'm going to go ahead and begin some of my planning for my summer garden so that we'll have some things ready. And there's a lot of factors that go into planning when you want to plant your summer stuff. Factors that you should consider when planning a particular growing season include how long it takes to get your seedlings up to transplant size. Normally that's about 6 to 8 weeks, and so if you're going to be planting at the end of June or beginning of June or whatever time it is you're going to plant to start your middle season, you need to count back 6 to 8 weeks to get those seedlings up. And so that's why we're starting some of our summer crops now in the middle of our spring garden. You know, most of us are thinking about harvesting our tomatoes. All my tomatoes are green, and we haven't even seen a harvest yet, but we still have to think ahead to the summer. Same thing goes with the winter garden. You know, in the winter garden, I need to have my plants out around October the 1st or that first week of October. That means I need to count back into August to start my winter garden seeds. Well, man, it's hot in August. It's 105 degrees and the humidity's bad, but that's when you have to start thinking about those cold weather crops, at least in my area. So the point is, plan ahead. Think about a season or 2 seasons beyond where you actually are. Buy your seeds when you're thinking about that. Buy your seeds before everybody makes a run on the seeds, and you'll be prepared. I've been going through my seeds looking for my okras and some warm weather crops like eggplant. I've got a couple of varieties here that I'm going to grow, and I'm going to grow some Malabar spinach, but I can't find the seed. It's in here somewhere. I thought I had it. See, this is what happens when you're not as organized as you think you are. And of course there it was all the time. So, Malabar spinach, lima beans, long beans, eggplant, okra, cowpeas or southern peas, peppers. All of those are very good for warm weather, for hot weather. And I'm going to be growing a summer garden, a summer crop. And it sort of overlaps with my spring crop. But among my seeds here, I can always find something to grow in the heat of the summer when everything else starts to peter out. These are the varieties that I start right about now from seed, so that when some of my plants in my garden start to die off, like the squash, which is going to die off because of the vine borer, not necessarily the heat, I'll have something to plug in there and get a head start on the summer. So crops that enjoy the heat and can tolerate the humidity are things like okra, eggplant, southern peas or cowpeas. I always grow cowpeas. That grows well through the summer. Peppers do well in the summer. Malabar spinach does well in the summer. Winter squash does well in the summer if you can keep the vine borers away. So that's the kind of things we're going to grow. So here are the varieties that I've selected for the summer garden. I've got this Malabar spinach. It's a Green Vine Supreme from Kitazawa Seed. We're going to plant some of that. I've got 2 kinds of okra here. I've got Bowling Red and I've got Hill Country Heirloom Red. I grew these a couple years ago and I really enjoyed them. They did quite well through the summer. I had to cut them back. They were so vigorous. And we're going to grow 2 kinds of eggplant in addition to some of the Bonnie plants that I've bought this year. We're going to grow this Louisiana Green Oval and this Florida High Bush. And so we're going to get these seeds started today. You don't need any lights, you don't need any special equipment, you just need some cells and some seed starting mix, and you can start these seeds outdoors as if you were starting them in the ground. But I'm going to start them in trays so they can get a head start, they can start growing, and when the time comes, I can plant them in the garden. I am pre-moistening my seed starting mix. There's water down there, I just need to mix it up. And Phoebe wants to play, huh? Yeah, we'll play in a little bit. It's easier to pre-moisten your seed starting mix because, well, peat moss, which is the main component of this stuff, is it actually repels water for a little while. You got to break that surface tension, Once you break that surface tension by stirring it around like this, or using your hands and kneading it, then it absorbs water and readily maintains a hold of that water. That ought to do. All right, super easy. Just fill these trays with that pre-moistened potting mix. It's actually seed starting mix. I want to make sure to let you know that this is specifically for seed starting. You could use potting mix with larger seeds, but for eggplant especially, those small seeds, well, I want them in good contact with the soil. Make sure you pack it down. We want to make a nice firm plug for when we pull them out. I think I'll have enough for another tray here. Alright, well, that'll have to wait. We're going to grow some Malabar spinach first. I'm really interested in this. I've never grown Malabar spinach, and it would be nice to have a summer leafy green. And so I'm going to take 2 seeds and I'm going to put them in each cell, and that should ensure we get plenty of, well, plenty of Malabar spinach. It says to plant them 1 inch deep, but I'm not sure 1 inch. That seems a lot. I'm going to go down about 1/2 inch here. That should be fine for starting in these trays. Malabar spinach is got kind of a sliminess to it, they say. I don't mind that. We'll see. Those look about the size of a coriander seed. We're going to put 2 in each hole. And this soil is pretty moist, so I don't know that we need to water it in. It's a little too moist, so it's just like being watered. But now we're getting our summer garden going. And I want to talk about summer gardening here. Summer gardening is kind of a fuzzy season because you have some crossover both, well, they're going to 3rd seed in there. You get some crossover both on the spring end of things. At the end of spring, it kind of blurs into summer, and you also get some blur into the fall garden. Although mostly at the end of summer, most of your plants have succumbed to heat and humidity. But sometimes you get them that go over into the next season, and so that's why I like to be prepared for the next season beforehand when you know, when things in my garden die off, I have something to put there. It's never too late, or I should say it's never too early to plan ahead for a particular season of gardening. The worst that can happen is I start a little bit too early, but these will do fine even if they're a little bit early. They'll still grow. Now that you've got your plants in there, you need to always put a label on them so you know what you've got. Let's see, I've got some Malabar spinach. There we go. Now here's the deal. All I have to do is just set this out in the garden somewhere and make sure I keep it watered. And these won't have to be hardened off because, well, they'll come up in the sunlight. They'll come up naturally, just like they're supposed to. And they'll be outdoors their entire life. It's just like starting seeds in the ground, but I'm just getting a head start so that I can get some plants up, some starts, and I can put them where I need them later. All right, let's go find a place in the garden for these. I think I'll just set them right here by my single seed challenge. These will come up right here, and by the time they get about that big, perhaps this squash on my right hand side will be destroyed by vine borers and ready to be taken up, and I can put some Malabar spinach in that place. Summer crops are perhaps the easiest to grow because, well, they tolerate the heat, they don't take a lot of care and attention, and you can start them outdoors. You don't have to have lights. It's really easy. So my thinking is my squash plants will be done in about a month. I'm almost ready to get a harvest from them. The vine borers have been real heavy this year, so these are probably going to be done. They had cucumber beetle infestation like crazy. You can see damage on the leaves from cucumber beetles. I did spray the plants yesterday with a pyrethrin organic insecticide derived from chrysanthemums, and that knocked those cucumber beetles back. I don't see any of them anymore, so we may at least have extended our season a little bit, but the borers are already there. I've been taking off eggs, I've been hunting, trying to find them, I've been squishing the moths, but you know, they're already there. So those will come out, and I'll need to put something in its place. My plan is that this bed will be heavy on peppers and okra, and the tomatoes hopefully will make it through the summer, or at least well into the summer. When those tomatoes are done, that bed will be filled with summer crops as well, like cowpeas and lima beans. Lima beans love the heat, Well, I've got some trellis systems already set up, sort of. I can adapt that for lima beans. And then the bed way over there, I'm not sure what I'm going to do with it yet. There's cucumbers that'll be done from powdery mildew, probably June or July. We'll get a big harvest of cucumbers off of those. The green beans will be done in the middle of the summer, most likely. And all that over there we can fill with summer crops, eggplants, cowpeas, that Malabar spinach, okra, things like that. So you got to plan ahead. It's not too early to have an idea in your mind what you're going to do with your beds. Don't let the season creep up on you and you know, catch you by surprise. Otherwise you'll be behind, especially in summer. It's important to get a head start on summer because, wow, the heat, you know, it's difficult to start seeds in the heat when your seed trays dry out in the 100-degree weather. Start your seeds now and get those seeds healthy. I believe half of gardening is planning. I like to plan my garden out at least one season in advance. Like if I'm working on my spring garden, I like to have my summer garden in mind and have those pieces ready to put together. One thing I'm already planning for is my next winter garden at the end of 2021. I want to grow some particular kinds of winter radishes, some daikon radishes, and some particular kinds of Asian greens. And I've already purchased the seeds for those. And you got to have in mind what you're going to grow. Crop rotation is also an important thing to think about. I probably shouldn't grow summer squash for the next 3 years because I've got vine borer pupa in all 3 of my beds, and well, there's vine borers galore out here. I might wait on that and grow something different each spring instead of you know, summer squash. That's just something you got to think about as well. You got to plan, how are you going to rotate your crops if you've had pest pressure? All these things go into planning a garden, but if you plan ahead, you can think about it, give yourself time to dwell on it. When it's you know, November and it's freezing outside, you can think about your spring garden, and that gives you a lot of time to plan, to make adjustments, to do a little research on the varieties that you'd like to grow, and plan out where you're going to put them and how many you're going to put in and what you're going to do for your garden. When choosing varieties for your garden in the summer, especially in high heat like we have here, you want to choose varieties that handle humidity and high temperatures for extended periods. And so just get on your seed company website and look at your varieties and decide, okay, this particular one can thrive through the summer, this one doesn't do well. Even within a particular kind of plant like tomatoes, there are some tomatoes that actually do survive the heat. Heatmaster, Florida Everglades, these are tomatoes that are, you know, designed for heat. You can buy those and extend your season. But you know, for me, things like that squash right there, it's not going to make it. It's not going to make it because of insect pressure. But you want to have something ready to go and plug in its place. Thanks for joining me on Black Gumbo Southern Gardening. Just a short video on planning and showing you what I'm looking forward to in the summer. We're going to have a good summer garden here. I invite you to go along with us as we harvest the spring and bring in all those wonderful tomatoes and all that squash, the beans, the peppers, and the herbs. And we're going to make stuff out of it. We're going to make some sauce, and yeah, it's going to be a good spring. But summer's going to be good too. I plan on making it good. I'm working to make it good. I'm planning ahead. So, happy gardening to you. See you next time. Bye-bye. Hey, look. Yep, ready? Good catch, Phoebo. Hey, you gotta let me have a chance.